We got on the line right now, very special guest, one of the key fighters. He's probably, one of the biggest warriors out there for the cause, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, former Deputy Assistant to the President. Dr. Gorka, thanks for joining us on Breitbart News Saturday.
My pleasure, Matt. My pleasure. You're most kind.
So we got a heck of a battle ahead of us this year, Dr. Gorka, don't you think, right? I think that the stakes in November 2018, they might even be higher than they were in November 2016.
They are bigger. The president made, the return to our principles as a republic possible, but it's going to fail if we don't win in November. So the November 18 stakes are even larger, and everybody has their part to play. It doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what your job is or if you're retired. Everybody has a part to play. Get out there, volunteer, support MAGA supporters. And one of the most important things is, and I say this wherever I go, I don't care how old you are. I don't care how much of a technological klutz you are. Get on social media. Push back on the fake lies. It is absolutely essential more than ever. Remember, Andrew Breitbart started it. We're going to finish it.
Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Gorka, let's go down the list of actual policies, right? Because if you watch CNN, they're just focused on Stormy Daniels and things like that. But they're reviving long dead porn star careers. But the fact of the matter is that what we do here at Breitbart is a little bit different. We actually focus on real news and policy, and so I want to go down the list of actual policy achievements of this White House. Let's start with the economy. President Trump, every economic indicator is booming. I mean, if you ask the question, are you better off today than you were 2 years ago? The answer is, for the vast majority of Americans, absolutely yes.
Well, look, I think all your listeners know the successes. This is just, look at what's happened. I heard Stephen Moore last week on Larry Kudlow's show. We have 5 million Americans who have been given cash bonuses as a direct result of the president's tax reform. We have companies like Apple that say they're going to repatriate more than $250 billion to the United States because of that tax reform. Lowest unemployment in a generation, lowest Hispanic and African-American unemployment since records began. We don't need to do this list. We need to look at what the other side is doing, and I think it's going to get very, very nasty. The whole story with Ronnie Jackson and this absolute punk, this so-called senator, Tester. This is the new America where you can report allegations without a source, without a name, and good men are forced to withdraw their nomination for a political appointment. This is the left today. Look at what we now know thanks to the release of the House Intelligence Committee on collusion. We had the former director of national intelligence leak the briefing by James Comey to the president-elect to Jake Tapper so that file of Russian propaganda could be used against a duly elected president. This is stunning stuff, Matt. This is not what we expected in the beginning of the 21st century, and it's going to get worse. Mm-hmm. And every one of your listeners is a citizen journalist. Remember what he said, what Andrew said in his book, Righteous Indignation. You're a citizen journalist. Push back on the fake news.
So, speaking of Tester, Dr. Gorka, President Trump this morning on Twitter tweeted out that that John Tester should resign. What do you make of President Trump's call? What do you think?
I think that's great. If John Tester had a scintilla of backbone, of honesty, of moral rectitude in his body, he should have resigned days ago, but he doesn't. You see this pattern? These are people we've never heard of, who are given a hatchet job. They come up as political hitmen, and then they disappear again. This man is a disgrace to the Senate, to the Congress, and to the Republic. And yes, he should resign or he should be recalled. But this is how the left works. This is their modus operandi, and we can't let them get away with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. So, Dr. Gorka, another big thing that's on the world stage right now is that President Trump, and this is all thanks to President Trump, and by the way, he's done something that American presidents for decades, for half a century, more than half a century, have been trying to do and haven't been able to do it, is that he brought North Korea to the table. And now, look, I don't necessarily trust the Kim family. I think we need to trust but verify here, right? Like, we need to be sure. But the fact of the matter is that they are saying they want to denuclearize, they want peace on the Korean Peninsula. This is unbelievable. What do you make of what's happening with North Korea and these negotiations with South Korea and the United States and the Western world? I mean, this is unbelievable.
Well, it's historic. It's absolutely historic. And let's remember, we never had a peace treaty in 1953. We had a ceasefire and an armistice. That is technically a war that has been just suspended in time. But this potentially, we have the possibility for bringing a lasting resolution of peace to that peninsula. Now, you're absolutely right. This is a dictatorship. It's a Stalinist dictatorship. We have to be incredibly cautious, and dictators lie. That's the definition of a dictator. But the fact that this is the first president since 1953 to achieve this, the fact that we're actually having them meet already in the DMZ is remarkable, especially if we remember what the media has been saying for more than a year, that Donald Trump was going to get us involved in a shooting war in Korea. Well, let's send a new memo to the Nobel Prize Committee as to who exactly is bringing peace to that part of the world.
Mm-hmm. And so now this all comes to and we saw this week, President Trump hosted both Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel from France and Germany, respectively. And we also saw the Senate confirmations of Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State and Rick Grenell, an early Trump supporter, as U.S. ambassador to Germany. So what do you make of all of that that's happening?
I'm just incredibly excited. I know Mike Pompeo. I know Rick Grenell. We have an amazing team coming together. This is, if you want, Trump 2.0, along with John Bolton in the NSA position, with Jim Mattis still as Secretary of Defense. This is America first, and I can think of no better person than Mike Pompeo to clean the swamp that is the State Department. This is an institution that has basically absorbed a multilateral America-last culture for several decades now, and that culture needs to be changed, and Mike Pompeo's the man to get it done.
Mm-hmm. And now, so Dr. Gorka, kind of shifting gears back here to the domestic front again, tonight we are going to see, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think that they way over-glorify themselves. The White House Correspondents Association will host their annual dinner where they give themselves all sorts of awards and praise, and have all these black ties and fancy stuff and going on there at the White House Correspondents Center. And President Trump, meanwhile, is going to be in Michigan with the regular people in the country that he actually represents, rallying with them. What do you make of the White House Correspondents Dinner and the all the fake news, praising themselves and pretending that they're not fake news, and then President Trump's rally tonight in Michigan?
Well, the stunning thing is that the fake news industrial complex, which is a phrase I got from my White House colleague Andy Sarabian, they've learned nothing. In the last year and a half, they literally have doubled down on the insanity. Look at the recent Pulitzer announcements. Instead of actually rewarding people who do investigative journalism, such as Sarah Carter, such as my colleague Catherine Herridge Fox, what do? They give it to the people who spin for the left. They give it to people, they give it to institutions such as CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post. These are individuals who are so out of touch with America and what happened on November the 8th that it's hard to envisage what it is that's going to shake them out of this ironclad Kevlar bubble they're in. But I'm just very glad the president's taken this decision. When I was in the White House, I said we need him on the road at least every 2 or 3 weeks doing these rallies, because that's how you connect with America. That's how he did it during the campaign, and that's how he should be doing it as president. And that's what he's going to do tonight, and more power to him.
And so, Dr. Gorka, just to kind of bring this whole thing full circle, right, back to the battle that lay ahead of us in 2018, I know you've been pretty active out there on the campaign trail for Republicans. You just endorsed Patrick Morrisey for U.S. Senate in West Virginia, and I think you've made a number of other endorsements out there in the midterm elections. Tell us a little bit about your endorsement of Patrick Morrisey. We've had him on the show many times. He's a great guy, a huge supporter of President Trump. He's the Attorney General, West Virginia, and probably probably the best suited candidate to defeat Joe Manchin in the general election in West Virginia in November. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot more of the candidates like this out there across the country. So tell us about your endorsement of Patrick Morrisey.
Right,
and,
absolutely. So I endorsed Morrisey the same way, for the same reason that I have endorsed Colonel Minetti, also John McCann in New Jersey, Kelly Ward, all of these individuals, Christina Hagan, they have a commonality, and it is the one requirement that I ask anybody who comes to me for an endorsement. I get to know them, and I ask them, tell me what happened on November the 8th, 2016. And if it's the right answer, and if I can tell that they really are more Trump than GOP, then they get my vote. The fact is, the GOP, it's not the Democrats are the only problem. The GOP's as much of a problem because they betrayed us for more than a generation. And these are individuals who are committed to one thing. It's not the money. It's not the fame. These are people who want to come to D.C. and fix the swamp. And that's what we're looking for. And, I keep my endorsements to a minimum because these are the requirements. Are you committed ideologically to a Make America Great Again agenda? Do you have a chance of winning? If you tick those two boxes, I'll be your man.
All right. Well, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, thank you so much for joining us here on Breitbart News Saturday.
Thank you, Matt, and thanks to all the listeners. God bless.